Hey, 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 welcome to the Basement Brothers podcast. This is our maiden voyage, numero uno, the
Yes,
first
indeed.
uh, the first show on the road here. We've got myself, JD, and my co-host, Mr. Mad Money. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, brother. I'm doing great. Hello, everyone. Hello.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear that the weekend is treating you well. We're getting through here. We're got our format, and I think we've got a great idea for this show to give you some hot topics and some segments in kind of a quick format in more of a traditional podcast setup. So, I guess without further ado, we will kind of get into our first topics. The show will be kind of laid out in a topical format where we'll cover a few different segments. And so let's start segment one. I will roll the intro now.
All righty. Hot topic, segment number one. Today, we're going to talk about a recent occurrence. Last week we had the big game, the Super Bowl, and millions upon millions of fans all across the world tuned in. And I often think about the madness of the Super Bowl because when you think about it, what do you usually have that takes place during the Super Bowl? You're going to have people buying TVs that are probably too large for their walls or that they can't afford. Commercial spots, I believe, were going for roughly $70 million. Could you imagine $70
Wow,
million for a couple of seconds?
that's crazy.
um, it's just insane what goes on during the Super Bowl. And I'm pretty bad myself because I fall right into it. And in fact, this year we actually had a get together in my basement. Where else would I have a party but in my basement? And I tried to be discreet about it. And I called it a non-party because my basement's not large enough to host a lot of people. So had a couple of folks over. We ate, we drank. Some people cursed at the screen, and luckily no one threw anything at my screen. But we had a good time. you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the same with myself. I had a history of childhood, essentially watching the Super Bowl every year. It was like a holiday, right? Like every year, this day would come, and it's like there was we planned for a party. You're going to have people over. You're going to have all kinds of drunken adults, wandering around. And whatever various shenanigans they're causing and getting into, but yeah, it was one of those days you look forward to every year. I never really thought too much about the cost of things back then. But when you think about it today, how crazy, just like you said, $70 million for an ad spot, it really goes to show you globally how much this impact, it has upon the media and advertising business. It's insane.
Definitely, definitely. And spoiler alert for those of you who may not have seen the Super Bowl, which is probably only two or three of you. Kansas City won, so yay, yay, Chiefs! And in traditional fashion, they had their championship parade in downtown, and just kind of piggybacking off the theme of mania and madness. Some individuals decided that they wanted to shoot up the parade. I don't know. Did you get a chance to check that out, JD?
I didn't hear much about it, but I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't see many details on it, but I did hear about it, and it was crazy because some people were responding on social media and other places, just kind of talking about how people aren't able to do anything anymore without some sort of catastrophe occurring. And it kind of went to show that even during all this fanfare and all of this, kind of people just supposed to be out having a good time, enjoying themselves. There's still some sort of crazy shit that has to pop off, which I don't know. It just seems to be a new age trend these days.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. All jokes aside, the idea that a celebration parade would turn into basically, um, you know, a mass shooting is insane. Like where does it stop? Is anything safe? Is anything sacred any longer?
And what was the motivation? Did you hear? Was it somebody that literally was connected to the game, or was it just some nutcase who decided that was a public event he could ruin, basically?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't want to say I've become numb, but there was a time when I would actually, look into it and see who the individual was, what their motivations are, and now I've just gotten to the point. It happens so often, I didn't even bother to look. I'm kind of like, I don't necessarily want to see the individuals glorified. I believe there were like three individuals that they caught. Um, I didn't look too deeply because I'm tired of it because nothing ever changes. No one does anything about it. We kind of just move past it and on to the next.
Yeah, I think it really speaks to the condition of just mental health and just the I don't know how to phrase this, but the overall kind of consensus that how people behave now, right? Like there's just such an acceptance now that you're going to expect people to do some sort of atrocities where you just don't even think about it anymore. It's like, oh well, there's another mass shooting.
Yeah.
It's not even a surprise anymore. It's just people are so crazy in a way. It's really a bizarre time.
Yeah. People are thin skinned, short tempered. You know, people have weapons and they don't know how to direct their frustration with whatever's going on in their lives. And they tend to want to take it out on individuals that have absolutely nothing to do with their lives. I mean, just imagine, there were kids at that parade. There were probably people with health issues, maybe even elderly people who couldn't get out of the way, who were there just to celebrate their team winning, and it turns into this. And now there are going to be second thoughts about how to handle celebration parades moving forward. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, most definitely. And it ruins it for everybody else too. It's like anytime you go to do anything from that point on, it'll be scrutinized. It'll be the security will be so strict. It just really wrecks everything. It's unfortunate that these things have to keep occurring. It's unfortunate that people's mental state has degraded, especially here in this country, to this point where people just have problems that excuse me, that they don't seem to be able to rectify,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate.
Well, speaking of unfortunate, my team, I won't mention my team out of love and respect for them. I won't call them out by name, but my team, we don't have to worry about a parade getting shot up anytime soon because they're going nowhere.
Yeah, me too. I know it all too well. Like you know that the team is never going to have a chance in my lifetime to see that sort of parade happen.
The crazy
Unfortunately,
thing is, though, every year um, they do well. They do well enough to maybe just get in the playoffs or sniff the playoffs, but not well enough to win at all and or go deep. And they don't get a top draft choice. So it's like, just either tank or win it all. Like I can't deal with this in between thing anymore because we're making no progress. I need them to either be successful at losing it all or highly successful at winning it all. That's what I need.
I completely agree. I think there's just it doesn't matter if there's perfection, if the coaching, the players, you could have all of these things to meet together, and it seems like they always hit a brick wall or they stall out in some way, and I think what we're going to have to just move into AI teams. The teams are going to have to become AIs, and then we'll be able to actually have what we need.
Listen, everything else in the world is going in that direction.
Great segue there. The next topic we have for the first hot topic section is let me cue this up here. Next topic is AI taking over the job market. It's a really interesting time to see kind of what's coming. Like we've I don't want to speak out our age here, but we've been able to live through kind of this technological age and see it from its inception. Like I remember in the 80s when it was like, hey, we may get a TV in every room pretty soon. Like it was still pretty primitive.
Mhm.
Now the technology is exponentially increasing to the point where it's legitimately starting to impact jobs where companies pretty soon are not going to even need um, many of the same people they are working in these positions, and it's really starting to hit now.
Yeah, I recall getting more of a grasp of the power of AI I recently graduated, and um, I remember one of our professors. He told us, "Listen, if you're smart enough to figure out a way to pass this class using Chat GPT, um, by all means, go for it." And it was just stunning to me that one, that a professor would say that, and two, that we're at a point where AI could literally complete a course for you, or at least get rid of the lion's share of the heavy lifting for you. And that's when I started to get a better idea of the power of AI and the direction that the world's going into. You know?
Yeah, that's a crazy thing that you mentioned with ChatGPT. I just saw a video the other day where a whole classroom was kind of scolded for, utilizing that because it was so widely used that basically nobody in the class had done any of the work, right? They just used the AIs to literally write all of their assignments for them. Um, and it makes me wonder too, like aside from the fact that companies are replacing people with AI and robots and all of these different types of technological advancements, the education system, right? It's like the whole point of being educated or receiving education, and you could speak to this, being you just finished your graduation, is actually studying and learning a topic or a course or you know something, actually learning and applying yourself to something versus just having AI tool cheat your way through. And it seems to be that's so prevalent now. It makes me wonder if schools are already getting behind here. What's the next generation going to look like when they're literally using AI tools to do all of their work?
Yeah, that's interesting too, because cheating is not new. I know of people who had family members to help them complete, friends and family members to help them complete degrees. So cheating is
Oh
not
yeah, yeah,
new. Nothing's new under the sun. But like the degree in which you can do it now, how uh, how the quality of the product that can be produced with something like a chat gpt is amazing. It's just, I don't know. I think of things in terms of the arts. I'm into the arts, right? So when I'm looking at people's ability to go into ChatGPT or any of these AI platforms and put some suggestions in, and it could render a piece of art that could be a fusion of all types of different ideas, and it can do it in a matter of seconds. That's powerful and it's amazing. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, does it dilute the impact and the meaning of true art and culture if something that would take a person, days, weeks, or longer can be reproduced in a matter of seconds? Does that dilute the impact and the meaning of true artistry and creativity?
yeah. I think it does. I think you hit the nail right on the head. I think it's been marginalizing those industries for a little while now with the kind of the advancement of this AI portals, AI graphical creation, back end software that allows people to text prompt and create all kinds of graphics. Which, if you may notice, we've done that as well. I'm not downplaying the usage because I love some of these tools, but yeah, it's like, can I go into an AI prompt and create an image in 30 seconds, or do I have to pay an artist $100 to make that image? It's going to be really tough in some of these industries to kind of come back from that, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna just blame auto tune. Okay, I blame everything on auto tune. Right? It's like
That's what it is.
auto tune is the original cheating platform for musicians who really couldn't sing.
That's
So you
right.
got Ti and some of these other folks.
And our old friend
Yeah,
T Pain, the
original
original auto
T-Pain.
tune robot, the original auto tune man himself, T Pain.
Yeah, so you got all these pop stars out there who can't sing, creating these prepackaged songs that are becoming hits on the radio, and then when you go and listen to them in person, they can't really sing. They got to lip sing for it to even sound recognizable. Otherwise you wouldn't recognize the what's coming out of their mouths. So
Yeah, it's a good thing soon they'll be able to just use AI to represent themselves. They'll just be holograms on stage.
yep,
Won't
yep,
even have
that'd
to
probably be
perform
better.
anymore. Probably. Probably. Oh man. Well, that's enough discussion about the AI. I think it's coming. I think there's nothing we can do about it. I hope there's some sort of oversight. I think at the very minimum, I was talking about how I dislike complete government intervention, but I think the government kind of has to regulate this industry a little bit because I think we're going to see some real bad downturn in terms of if they don't, it's going to start replacing a lot of people's income. That's not going to be good.
That's true. That's true. Because we're talking about income and we're talking about automation and AI and things as such. It's slightly different, but kind of the same, a different branch on the same tree. I think of like Walmarts and Targets and some of these spaces where they started out with like one checkout lane that was like self checkout, and now you have like a checkout sort of area where there are multiple self checkout kiosks or whatever you want to call them that in that spot, and then you look over where there's supposed to be actual real live you know people cashiers, and you see like there's maybe two or three, and it's like it's good maybe for the company in a sense where it saves them some of the bottom line, but where is that going to leave us as a society when we're now basically forcing people out of the workforce because we want to look out for the bottom line?
Yeah, and especially to your point, you see that too, and you see basically they'll have one or two check stands open in a busy day, and they'll have 6 or 7 self-automated checkout stands, much to the same way they will in a fast food restaurant. Now, you walk into a fast food place, it's all self-order kiosks.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, just to your point as well, what's going to happen to the workforce when people who used to work some of these jobs, being a cashier at a grocery store may not be an elegant, top tier job, but it's something that gets you in the door for learning how to work in a company.
Yep.
And fast food worker and all these different positions are, they're needed. So if at the very minimum, even there are some people that do work them their entire lives. They maybe should have found something different, but they've stayed there for 50 years, and good for them. That's what they wanted to do, and they did it. But the amount of jobs that are being taken out away that are like a starting position for someone is just crazy to me. Like, what are they going to expect these kids to be 30 years old and walk into a professional job without any experience? That's what they're doing by removing these jobs.
Yeah, it's tough when you look at it and you say America's first job was typically, working in a grocery store or working in fast food. And like soon America's first job is going to be relegated to, computers and robots. I thought I saw something recently where they're going to have like the very first fully automated fast food restaurant. I saw it somewhere. I don't have to dig it up, but like the entire restaurant is like automated. Everything's automated. There'll be like a person or two there to make sure that the robots don't, blow up the place. But like it's a fully automated fast food sort of joint, and that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I've seen some of the convenience stores that are fully automated, and also some of the not dispensaries, but vending. I've seen like pizza machines in places where it literally they can make whole meals in some of these machines where you literally put a credit card in and it's all robotics and automation. It's insane.
Well, I want to be the first guy to fire a robot. Like literally, I want to be the
You're
first.
fired.
You're fired. And just remove the battery.
Just pull the plug. You just got to pull the battery pack out of the back of them.
I got like
drop like a sack of potatoes.
I got one of those like automated vacuums that kind of like roams around the house, and every now and then, I turn it on just to tell it it's fired, and then unplug it.
I hear you, man. Well, let's move on to our next segment. This one is a enjoyable spot for us called Knee Jerks. Yeah, so this segment is an interesting one. What we try to do is we try to find topics and reactions to things that we can find that it could be comical, could be entertaining, whatever it may be. But let me cue this first video up here and just see what you think about this, because this was well, I'll let it speak for itself. This is a good old episode of an old show I used to watch back in the day, Maury Povich, and I think most people here that are listening have probably seen it or heard of it, but I'll play this.
Gotcha.
Then you've been scared of olives. Do you eat olives?
No, we can't eat them maniacal.
Bring out the olives! And ever since then...
She's
you can't even
terrified.
understand what she says. What does she say? Like,
You've been scared of olives. Do you eat olives?
No, beginning kingdom na lang ako.
Bring out the olives.
I'm not sure what she said there,
It sounded
but
like she said, "I can't eat them," and I couldn't make out the rest of
it
it.
sounded like can't eat because they're maniacal. But I'm not sure what they what was included there. But what's so funny about this is obviously that's hilarious segment. It just from the face value of like, okay, this person's running literally from a jar of green olives, which the way they present it's hilarious. But if you think about how sick and twisted Maury actually was,
Yeah.
here's a guy who's bringing in people who are deathly afraid of something. Literally, that woman is deathly afraid of something, and he's completely capitalizing on it for the entertainment of the crowd and the millions watching.
I hope they have a therapist back there where she ran off to, because she's definitely traumatized now.
Watch, she runs to the back and they tackle
That scream?
And ever
at the very end of the video, this lady's running, and they send a jabroni over there to tackle her.
I've always been fascinated by people who have these fears or phobias about inanimate objects. Like, they're just deathly afraid of inanimate objects. I know a friend of mine, he had a relative, and they're terrified of feathers. Like, if you brought a feather around them, like it would be the same reaction. And it's just fascinating to try to kind of understand what causes that level of fear. Now, when I look at the olives, I'm not a fan of olives. I use olive oil, but I'm not a fan of olives, but I'm not afraid of them. And I look at them and say, maybe it's the shape of the olives, because it's been proven that humans have like sort of a negative response to images that have like holes. Like, there's like a plant that has all these holes, like where the seeds come out. And
Sure, kind of alien looking.
Yes. And I think it's related to, it looks like decomposition or death. Like, there was some explanation for it, but and maybe for her, that's what those olives look like. But I swear I don't understand why a person would be afraid of a feather.
Yeah, man. I remember the same episode, and I remember watching it when it was on, and there was a lady who was scared of a tray full of chalk. It was
wow.
chalk used for a chalkboard, and the same thing. And then there was another lady that was scared of the erasers. So it was just a bizarre episode of like people with these legitimate fears of these inanimate objects, but it's like Maury would wait until the most opportune moment. He gained their trust. Like, we're going to be safe here. It's a safe environment for you to talk about your fears. And then as soon as he gets them with their trust, he's like grabbing this woman to stay there. Well, he brings a large jar of olives after her. Yeah. Just hilarious. Like,
well, look, she's definitely got trust issues, because as you can see, she never made it to the chair. She never made it to her seat. She knew something was up. She's like, Maury, you're full of shit.
She's grabbing Maury's. She's grabbing
Since then, you've been scared of olives. Do you eat olives?
No, beginning kingdom na lang ako.
Bring out the olives. And ever since
it's terrible. Like, ever since you were a kid, you were afraid of olives, right? Yeah, they're terrible. Bring out the olives.
Bring out the olives. Dude, I can't believe he didn't just dump a bucket from the top on her head like the old Nickelodeon slime shows. Like,
he should have just spit an olive right out of his mouth at her or something.
Oh, that's how sick this environment we live in is.
Yeah,
okay,
it's twisted, but we love it, don't we?
We do. It is what it is. So let's look at the next knee jerks video we have is another good one. I'll cue this one up for us here as you watch.
I like to call this one "Hopping Mad."
Let me reload because I think it's going to play from the start. Good. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Guy pops out of there.
Oh,
It looks like R-Truth. It's really him.
He does.
Oh, let's just watch
R-Truth
this.
and New Jack all in one.
Now, if this isn't a documentary on eternal bleeding, I'll never know.
Oh my God.
Oh, he just
I don't
out
know
New
what's
Jack.
more impressive. I don't know what's more impressive. The fact that he survived that fall, or the fact that he was able to assemble that many boxes. Like, where did he get all these boxes from? Where did
Like
all this cardboard come from?
dude, every bum living under that bridge is out there scrambling for his home, and this poor bastard is over here ready to end his life on their houses.
Well, the sad thing is that if he died in that pile, it'd still just like pull the pieces of cardboard from underneath his body and rebuild their homes. Because he's ripped off some bum right down the train tracks.
We're not so sure there isn't somebody dead in there already. I mean, while he's assembling this, somebody probably crawled in there to take a nap.
My God.
Oh man! And the guy literally, like, what he thought was going to occur. Like, if you're going to attempt this stunt, wouldn't you at least throw like a bowling ball or something off the top just to see if the boxes can take, a 20-pound drop?
He Bill O'Reilly did. He said, "We're gonna do it live.
Do it live.
Man, like he's got a set on him though. I'm telling you, I wouldn't jump off of a 6-foot fence onto cardboard, and this dude jumped off an overpass.
The way he pops off of here too. I mean, he disappears into the boxes. He's gone. And then he just pops out of here like Spawn being renewed.
What if it's like a fake, like it's a conspiracy, like the real guy died. He's still laying lifeless in a pile of cardboard, and like his body double was there just in case he did die to just kind of spring out and like,
it was stop motion. Yeah, it was stop motion shot, and then they had this guy with a Transformer shirt pop out of here. He's looking for Steven Seagal.
It's just amazing the things that people would do for attention. I mean, clearly he wants attention, because why else would you jump off an overpass? And like, what deserted town is this where he's on a bridge and there's not a single car passing by? Did you see a single car pass by?
I don't hear any trains. I don't hear any sounds at all. It's like a sound stage.
It's like Chernobyl or something. Like, it's a deserted community. Like,
where he is, 3 Mile Island.
Yeah, it's like it's daylight, so we know it's in the daytime, but like there isn't a single car anywhere.
Not a single humanoid anywhere in the structure.
No.
Oh, I tell you what, that's truly just earlier when we were talking about mental health, I think we just nailed it with this video. This is the people who we're looking forward to running the future.
Yep.
And a cranial hemorrhage later, and he's going to be president. So
I'd hate to see the sequel to this act. I don't know what he's going to do next. So,
well, if he lived, right? How long did he make it?
Yeah, he might have collapsed right out of frame. You never know, right?
He probably severed his liver or something on that jump.
No, his encore is going to be hopping off of the overpass into a moving train. He's
got to finish it right. Oh man, it's too good. It's too good. All right, man. Well, let's move to our final segment of this show. So this one's called Free for All, and generally what we do is we present topics that we feel interested in, something we found that we want to talk about. I'll start it on this first one, and I know it's been covered, pretty heavily recently, so we don't have to go too deep in the coverage. Just kind of wanted to chat about this because I know it obviously myself and Mad Money over there, we've been really close to this industry our entire lives. Yep. Let me pull this up here. It's the Vince McMahon scandal. If anybody doesn't know about this now, Vince is being once again sued, the target of a lawsuit from somebody who's claimed all of these crazy allegations, from everything from allegedly Vince literally pooping on her head, forcing her to have sexual encounters with other people, just a crazy amount of things in this. Also, it involved John Laurinaitis, but Brock Lesnar was another one which really was shocking in this, because you had to think even being involved in this at this high level, you would have thought Brock Lesnar would have been like, listen, this is going to be bad for me.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Like, how do you wash out good out of this in any way?
Yeah. No, and you know what? Vincent K. McMahon, as I like to refer to him as, is his full name.
Vincent Kennedy. That's right.
He is literally, he's the face of wrestling. Like he is wrestling. When you think of modern wrestling, you think of Vincent McMahon. But when you think of like a modern supervillain, you also think of Vince McMahon. He's like,
especially with that new mustache thing.
Yeah, he's got the diabolical mustache that's been like tattooed on his lip. I don't know if that's real hair, if it's hair plugs or what in his lip, but it looks really, he looks like Howard Hughes or Dick Dastardly or so. There it is. There he is.
He literally looks like some sort of like supervillain from a 1930s comic strip.
No, he looks like a telenovela villain too.
Maybe he's trying to make a deal with Telemundo.
He could be. It's hideous.
Vincent Salvador Dali.
No, it's I don't want to believe it all, but nothing surprises me these days. And a man with as much power and influence as Vince McMahon has had during his tenure at the WWE, I imagine that he did, he did push his weight around. I can imagine that. And I didn't want to believe it. And ironically, I just saw a little reel of Vince McMahon making someone kiss his ass. I think it was Jim Ross or someone kiss his ass in the middle of the ring.
Oh yeah, the whole Vince McMahon kiss my ass segments, which were on.
Yeah, so like now I'm like, yeah, Vince probably did that shit.
Yeah, he had a lot of people do these segments. I remember, of course, he had the Stooges out there all the time. He had Mick Foley. I mean, Kurt Angle. I mean, he's had everybody under the sun in these segments.
You want a title shot, don't you? Kiss my white ass.
Shawn Michaels. That was the one, I think, where Shawn Michaels gives him a low blow, and then Vinnie Mac actually has to kiss his own dad's ass, which was really special. But
he is pure gold, man.
I think that's Eric Bischoff even. Yeah, I think he even had Bischoff there to kiss his ass. Obviously, Vince McMahon is, as you said it all. Without Vince McMahon, there'd be no wrestling today. Yep. Now, and when I say that, I don't mean there wouldn't be wrestling. There would still be wrestling in school gyms. There would still be some territories left. The wrestling as we know it, to the level and the size and scope of it, would not be known today. Just there's no way, right? He revolutionized the entire industry and made wrestling something that was kind of laughed at in terms of kind of a carnival event into a actual legitimate multi-billion-dollar, if not trillion-dollar business.
Yeah.
So I laugh too, because they're trying to erase Vince from wrestling, but they can't. It's just not possible, because just like you said, when you say wrestling, it's synonymous with Vincent Kennedy McMahon. It always will be.
Yeah, as it should. I'm able to compartmentalize, and you and I have had conversations about this. There are good people who do bad things. There are bad people that do good things. There's someone out there that most people hate, and yet there are friends and family members that love them, So you can separate the works of an individual from some of their deeds, because, we have this duality about ourselves where we can be both great and horrible, and that's what makes us human. I choose to think of Vince McMahon as far as the contribution he's made to wrestling, which is something that I love. I love wrestling. I have had a love affair with wrestling since I was a kid, and it continues now as an adult. I stepped away from it at times when the writing got a little too ridiculous, but it's been renewed, and I have to thank Vincent McMahon and his family for their contribution.
Yeah, me too. Exactly. Same concept. I came up with wrestling since I was a kid. Same thing after the Monday Night Wars kind of settled down. I kind of lost interest in it for a while. The storylines weren't very good. The characters weren't great. I think the product is really good today in terms of production. I think the quality is big. It's very much a product of kind of today's over the top CGI style, really smooth looking production. I've got to say, I watch it from time to time now, but I'm not as interested in it or as invested in it as I was. Even like, I don't know, 2002, 2003 era was probably the last era where I really kind of bought into it. Which is unfortunate because I think it still could be something great. I'm kind of interested in some of the new promotions, the more indie, even the AWA stuff they're doing now, or not. Sorry, not AWA, NWA.
Yeah.
I don't know if you followed any of those, but I really like the style of that low budget kind of looking show. But once again, it's to make it into a company that's now bought by UFC and they have this big, conglomerate behind them and they're driving that thing to the upper echelon of business and sports entertainment. It wouldn't have been done without Vince. Just, it can't be. The one thing about all these allegations is, with those guys, those tycoons at the top of these industries, that they have some demons. They have some, like you said, a part of them that's probably not a good person.
Yeah.
This specific lawsuit here, I know everybody instantly jumped all over Vince. They jumped over John Laurinaitis. There's some things that happened in the course of what the allegations are, which, yeah, you can say whatever you want about them. They're not good. They don't sound good. But the person that was involved in this seemed to be much more a willing participant as well for a long period of time, which I can't imagine somebody taking a dump on your head and then you coming back next week and continuing on.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Like, how do you even look that person in the eye again? Like you meet them in the at the coffee machine or something. It's like,
Yeah,
you even make eye contact at that point.
Yeah, just like the text messages too. Like, they continued on, and you're sitting there thinking, if all this stuff actually happened as though it's claimed, and I'm sure some of it did, I'm sure there was some elements to this story that were true, but it just seems a little far-fetched that these types of things were purveyed and the other person had no ability to stop it, and or it was continued on. Even so, within Vince and his inner circle, like, they didn't think about that this was going to be exposed when they already were exposing everything before. How do you continue these activities in the middle? He's already in the middle of an investigation, and then he thinks he's going to continue these activities as well, and then that's not going to be exposed. Like,
I think that he overestimated the power of shame. He probably figured that the individual would be too ashamed to have it exposed that he shat on them. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they'll never say that out in public. Like, who's gonna admit that someone shat on them? Like, who's gonna do that? But we live in an era where people are shameless. So there you go.
well, and like I said too, in terms of her being involved in this, she also was willing to accept a payment, not admonishing or basically agreeing that anything they did was right. But it's like, I think she was much more a party to this activity, whether it was for financial gain or career gain or whatever, than what they're kind of selling it out to be. Was she victimized in a way? Sure, I agree to that. But I don't think she's completely guilt-free in this either. You have to take some responsibility for yourself. It's like if I had a company that said, hey, Mad Money, I need you to go snuff this guy, go take him out. And you're like, well, that's not something I'm interested in doing, but you do it anyway, or you don't do it, right? Like, you still had to make the decision. So it's kind of, I don't know, society with the Me Too movement, it's become so crazy about they just instantaneously paint this bad guy picture on somebody, and then the other person's completely scot-free.
Yeah. I'm not one for that. Lack of accountability. It's, let's make this one person the villain. So in an effort to do that, we're going to make this other individual just literally, the victim. And I don't think it's always so clean cut. I do believe that there are times when people are complicit, and it's okay until, it's out there and activities are exposed. So this person could have been a willing participant. I haven't done a deep dive into the story and the allegations and what kind of evidence they have. I have not done that because, again, that's going to be decided by people on a higher pay scale than what I'm on, because clearly I'm working out of my basement, so I'm not making much money.
That's right. What do we know? We're sitting in a basement talking on the internet.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw the sunshine. So but no, this is
Nice
going
and
to be
safe down
decided
there.
it's going to be decided by much smarter people than me. And right now, in this day and age, with all the misery and all the chaos that's going on, I'm trying to cling to some positivity whenever I have an opportunity to do so. And I'm choosing to think about the positive direction that, let's say, the WWE is headed in. Better storylines, tons and tons and tons of talent, and like you said, these other franchises that are out there. It kind of is reminiscent of the territory days, where you had the territories, and you can kind of just make your way through, and everybody had their star. And it kind of reminds me of that again, and it's a good feeling. And I kind of want to enjoy that.
Yeah, I agree. And aside from all of this stuff, I believe 100% it was Vince's time to go.
Mhm.
As sad as that sounds, I think Vince had lost touch with the overall direction and concept of what he should have been doing for a long time. And I don't think he was helping his own company really anymore. I think I think WWE, the only direction they have to go is down at this point, right? It's like, I don't know that you're going to get that thing any bigger than it was. And the only way you're going to maintain and you're going to stay there and reinvent is you got to reinvent yourself. And I don't think Vince would have ever been able to do that anymore. He just seemed to, it's kind of like when you talk about an artist who creates art for themselves and then people like it. Vince had started creating art to appease people versus the art itself. And I just think that's never good. I don't think there's any sustainability there.
I'm just wondering which artist created that mustache that he drew on his face. That thing is hideous.
It was cut from Salvador Dali's corpse and glued on. Okay, well, we've expounded well on the Vince topic. Let's go to, we've got one more story here, which is, it was interesting because you actually told me about this. I never heard even about this until you brought it up. And it's just a crazy story. So let's just play the video here.
What? Oh, wait, right there?
All right, I don't know. My legs went numb for a second. I heard a pop come from. Go this way. Can you move? Yeah.
We hold our officers to a very high standard of service. And this particular time, we let the public down.
Okaloosa County Sheriff Eric Aiden in this video posted to social media speaking on the incident of November 12th, 2023, while on a call with a suspect in the back seat. Then Okaloosa County Deputy Jesse Hernandez reportedly claimed it was this noise that he thought was the detained suspect shooting at him.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Hernandez and Okaloosa County Sheriff's Sergeant Beth Roberts, who was on the scene, both shot into the patrol car. The detained person in the back seat was reportedly not physically injured. Officials say he was fully searched before he was put into the patrol car and after the incident, but he was found to be unarmed. The noise was reported to be an acorn. Hernandez resigned just a week later.
We have an obligation to our staff to try and train.
Dude, they unloaded those clips into that car. Now, aside from they thinking this guy had a gun, let's look at the point of view of this other officer here.
Yeah.
She's firing at this car here. This guy is laying over here.
Yep.
Like any one of those shots could have ricocheted off a piece of metal or the engine block or the frame or something and killed that guy.
Yep. Well, look at to the right of the screen. That's a residential area. It could have been a kid going across the street to the park. I like to call this one cop versus acorn, because how in the blazes did this officer mistake the sound of an acorn hitting the hood of his car for gunfire? And it just speaks to the paranoia and the tension that exists in our communities, both for law enforcement and for citizens, because he had to be on edge to think that was literally gunfire.
Here's the other part to the story that it's just even more crazy. Not only is this crazy that he hears a sound of an acorn falling on a car, and that causes him to believe it's not only gunfire, but more than one round of gunfire is what it appeared like, because he made it seem like there was active firing that continued to happen after he fell, right?
Yes.
But they searched the guy before he got into the car.
Searched them before.
So it's like, how can you search a guy, find no weapon, and then believe that he's firing a gun that you didn't find on him? Now, I guess maybe they thought they didn't search him well enough. These guys just seem like they bumbled this thing from A to B.
Well, this is the kicker. Not only was he searched, not only was he in the back seat of the squad car, he was handcuffed. The guy was handcuffed. So, go figure.
I can't. Same with this. So you've got her unloading a gun here. He's unloading a gun on this side, right?
Yep.
Somehow they both managed to miss the guy in the back of this car afterwards,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Even more crazy. Like, and look at, there's a house right in front of here.
Yes.
How could these round? I mean,
any one of those bullets could have gone, could have gone sideways, as they would say.
now I understand the concept of you heard maybe what might have been a round going off. Dive for safety, get behind something, see what happens. Give it a couple seconds to see if there's another shot or something. They didn't even take any time. They hit the ground and they were unloading clips.
I'm thinking that neighborhood maybe is a neighborhood that gets a lot of calls, right? Maybe it gets a lot of calls, and already their defenses are up, their antenna are up, and they're already kind of expecting something to go awry. And it just took the sound of an acorn to literally just set the guy off and stuff. Right. And my thing is, if the guy's firing a gun, which how did he get one? But if he's firing a gun, why wasn't there any shattered glass?
Yeah.
It's insane.
There was no time for investigation. It was just instantly the guy thought the guy fired a round, and instead of doing anything, he could have ran behind this tree and hid for a second, just to survey the situation to see, was there any more shots fired? Was there any other sounds? Was there any other response? It was literally like, from the time this guy walks past this vehicle.
The county deputy Jesse Hernandez reportedly claimed it was this noise that he thought was the detained suspect shooting at him.
Shots fired!
He's screaming shots fired. And immediately,
Hernandez and Okaloosa County Sheriff's Sergeant Beth Roberts, who was on the scene, both shot into the patrol car. The detained person in the back seat was reportedly not physically injured. Officials say,
oh man,
It's
just
insane.
Insanity. Like,
insane.
Wow.
It would have made more sense if they said that they thought they heard gunfire and it was coming from a distance, because there's no way he heard that small sound and thought it was direct gunfire right next to him. It would have made more sense if he said he thought he was taking fire and someone was at a distance, but that wasn't the case.
It's just crazy. And to your point, yeah, it's like, I'm not even, saying that being a police officer isn't insanely dangerous and difficult. It is. It's just, I've seen situations in which police officers literally were under fire, where they saw somebody shoot at them, and they acted way more appropriately than these guys.
Yeah.
They literally watched somebody take some shots at them, and they were more calm, and they didn't fire back immediately. They did everything they could in the situation. These guys didn't even know a shot was fired for real, and they emptied clips in the middle of a residential neighborhood.
Yep.
That's just bad.
I would say the moral of the story, JD, is if you're going to commit a crime and get caught doing it, just don't do it near an acorn tree, because you might get sprayed up. So,
if you're chewing on an acorn, you may be shot multiple times by two police officers.
Ridiculous.
Wow. Well, Mad Money, if you got any final words, I think that clip kind of summed it up for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much good. I think they're sick of hearing us talking.
Well, I hope they don't get too sick of it. Remember, this is a brand new podcast we're starting now, a new format for us. We're doing some things differently, but make sure you head to our channel over at YouTube at the Basement Brothers Podcast. Like I said, two of us sitting in the basement where it's nice and safe, where we can have these conversations. But like and subscribe. We're going to be on more platforms as we go. The show will be evolving as we go, and can't wait to have more topics and more exciting stuff to bring everybody.
Definitely. And hopefully at some point in the future, we'll even welcome and invite some feedback.
Yes, very much so. All right. Well, I think this will wrap us. Let's take us out to the outro.
There it is.